This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
For me, art is an agent of change. Anything that highlights life.
They know it's an art form when it has a story, when it speaks to them.
Art is an expression of the soul. Pinapakita nito kung anong kaya ng tao.
The product of the reaction to something you love.
And passion.
And anything in between.
It's the highest form of language.
So it's gotta be honest.
A vehicle for expressing your thoughts, your emotions.
That when we see it, we can't keep it. We need to share it.
It's not shared by two or more people, then it's just the work of a crazy person.
For me, art is important because
It makes you think.
I like the idea of creating something out of nothing.
think of how you can improve your own life, the lives of others.
To have something in the world that exists that affects people.
It is what allows us to feel.
Without it, we're nothing more than robots. Just rocks.
If you don't have art, you merely exist. Art draws out the humanity. So art elevates existence into something else. Does that make sense?
We are unable to inspire and to move people into action.
It's your way of sharing and giving back to the people.
Without art, I think life would be boring.
Because everyone has to have some sense of creativity in their life.
It's not beautiful without art.
If you have a point of view,
You are an artist.
An artist is someone who sees things that no one else sees.
with the mindset of moving the society forward.
Anyone can be an artist as long as you are honest.
Courageous. Art makes you just that much more sensitive to things around you.
To allow growth in our lives.
A reflection of the beliefs and the desires.
It pushes me to improve every day.
It makes me appreciate all the little things.
Iba yung tingin mo sa mundo eh.
Art is everything.
Hindi ako mabubuhay kung walang arte.
Actor and director.
Actress.
I'm an actor, singer,
Actor,
It's an actress and a singer.
actor, playwright,
theater actor.
An actress. An actress.
actor.
I'm a human being.
Maarte ako.
Maarte ako.
Maarte ako.
Maarte ako. Maarte ako. Maarte ako.
Maarte ko.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. Maarte po tayo. Now, tonight's show, we're going to talk about the International Arts Education Week. And we're going to talk about the events leading up to this. But most especially, we're going to be talking about art as a means for social change and for art being able to make us overcome a lot of the obstacles that we are facing in society today. And joining us tonight in the show is someone who is at the forefront of social change and the arts, none other than Cecile Alvarez, former chairperson of the National Commission for Culture and Arts and the director of the Earth Savers Movement and the president of the ITI, International Theater Institute.
Yes, in the Philippines.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mrs. Alvarez. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. And alam niyo po, basta arts pinag-uusapan, kaya talaga yung pinakamagandang resource person around because of your involvement in arts for, I don't know, maybe 4 decades or more than 4 decades.
More. I will accept, I'm a septuagenarian. And formally in the let's say professional stage. It was really at St. Paul's, but we worked with Father Reuter, and I was 15 years old. So I'd say 75 minus 15, 55 years.
Wow. And your contributions to the arts are really noteworthy. In fact, there's this wonderful thing called PETA.
Yeah.
PETA that you founded. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, PETA is a national theater movement. And at the heart of it is education. You learn through the arts You let people understand through the arts. But most of all, we wanted to really encourage writers to portray who we are, really drawing meaning and power from the lives and language of our people, so that it's really something that mirrors our problems, our dreams. It can forge our conscience. It's an armor against all of the social ills we have to confront. It's also an anchor so that we're rooted in the wealth of our indigenous traditions. But it is also an engine for creative industry. And it's really a lighthouse. It's like a light bulb that gives you really the guidance where
Direction,
you're going,
meaning.
direction, meaning, and you know exactly, you visualize what is a better, peaceful, sustainable world, and you're committed to it.
Where did you found PETA? What year was this?
1967.
Oh my God. And even back then, you were already using, you had a view that arts should be, could be,
Yes,
and will be a force for social change.
It is, especially for a developing country. You know, that's why we wanted to veer away from just imitation or just picking up what's there. But there are wonderful menu of classics and contemporary plays or creation that we must absorb, but our spine must be ang sariling atin.
Opo,
Oo.
opo.
So yun ang magbibigay ng katatagan sa atin. Yun ang maari talagang magbuklod-buklod sa atin. Yan ang maaring makatulong na nagmamarcha tayo talaga sa tamang ritmo na hindi hiwa-hiwalay. At yun ang mahalaga para sa pagbubuo ng isang matatag at masasabi nating maunlad, likas kayang maunlad na lipunan.
At kung titingnan natin, Ms. Alvarez, sa sentro po ng bawat lipunan, yung matatag na lipunan, nandun talaga yung kaisahan ho sa kultura, sa kasaysayan. And ito nga ang beauty na arts kasi talaga nakaka-contribute siya sa social change and bringing people together. No?
It gives you a sense of participation, di ba?
Identity.
Involvement, identity. O kapatid tayo, di ba? O talagang kalahi tayo. It's so important to bond people together.
That is what is at the root of nation building, I think. Di ba?
And that's what gives you strength and fortitude, di ba? And ang mahalaga nga, itong right to culture must be given to all. Inclusive, walang naiiwan.
Opo. At the moment ho sa Pilipinas, parang itong kultura ay parang, let's put it this way, medyo may pagka-elite yung elite siya di ba?
Somehow, it's been elitist.
Yes.
One, because yung kanilang attitude sa art, syempre mahal yun lang may kaya ang aabot doon. Pero kanya, binuo namin ang konsepto within the International Theatre Institute and Earth Savers, yung tinatawag namin cultural caregiving for vulnerable groups. Ibig sabihin, nagbibigay ka ng kalinga sa mga taong may pangangailangan at saka yung mga kadalasan hindi naaabutan ng ganitong karanasan. Kasi this is a tool to empower people to discover. This is why one of our efforts besides founding PETA is the Earth Savers Ensemble na they're
composed of physically challenged, mentally challenged,
indigenous youth, out-of-school youth, yung mga akala mo pasaway o patapon, pero pwede mo palang bigyan ng pag-asa, pwede mo silang bigyan ng pananaw na meron silang talino, meron silang galing, hindi kailangan mamuhay na mahirap dahil kung gagamitin lamang nila yon at payabungin yon at the function then of society and government is to give the equity of opportunity, whether it's in training, whether it's in opportunities for livelihood, yun ang mahalaga. Pero kailangan, they possess that strength, that fortitude,
Opo, opo.
the knowledge of their right to exist in dignity.
Opo, opo.
So, yan pwede talagang ipatama ng sining dahil inaabot talagang yung kaisipan,
Puso.
yung puso, at saka nilalarawan mo ang mga nagaganap. Kasi sometimes, sa hirap mo o sa ano, hindi mo na mapapansin eh, dumadaan na lamang. And it's the artists all together that can pull out what is important in the ordinary events to give you that kind of light
Opo, opo.
to see.
Opo. And very nice what you did dito ho sa Earth Savers dahil nga sila ay mga marginalized members of society. Not only are they uplifted, but they also serve as an example. Very inspiring yung kanilang. In fact, meron ho tayong guest mami at the end of the show.
Yeah, they
They're gonna
will sing for
us.
you
Opo.
kasi the theme of International Arts Education Week, which is a UNESCO General Resolution. And we're really delighted, or anyway, very happy that the Philippines, through the Earth Savers and the Philippine ITI, in fact, your other guests, si Frank, were part of our team, talagang naibigyan ng global modeling ito sa UNESCO World Education Conference, Arts
Opo,
Education
opo.
Conference.
Opo.
And to be a model, to inspire, and to open up the minds of so many teachers and so many artists that, hey, they can move in this direction. Because the work we do, we go to the refugees of armed conflict, to the refugees of climate change catastrophes, to the prisons, to the hospitals.
Opo.
You know, both Frank and I are cancer survivors.
Yes, yes.
And it's very important, really, and that's why very recently we had the Bohol Declaration to really launch and strengthen a whole movement where artists can be together with many other social workers, psychologists, to give this healing arts workshop to restore the mental health of those suffering from trauma.
Conflict,
Subukan mong
yes.
mawalan ka ng mga anak, asawa, byuda ka, nasira lahat. Talagang
Sa Leyte
desperado
po.
ka.
Sa Leyte po,
Leyte,
meron kayong mga
Bohol.
initiatives
Yeah,
ngayon,
Bohol, Leyte. A lot of our artists, even in the refugees, like sila Frank, of course, they have been working in Mindanao. So we've been reaching out ever since we launched here.
Opo.
The Director General then was Koichiro Matsuura, and we had invited him for the Philippines hosting the first time in Southeast Asia in 60 years, the Theater Congress and Theater Olympics
Opo.
of Nations.
Opo. Opo.
When he came, he really felt strongly what we were doing, and when he saw the kids, he felt they were inspirational.
Absolutely.
To put them in the level of artists for peace. Bulag, Pilay, Bata, compared to Celine Dion,
Yes, yes.
compared to Wallace Soyinka, or Nelson Mandela,
Yes.
you know, yung mga Nobel laureates na talaga, and the daughter of Princess Grace of
Yes.
Monaco, mga ganon, ano, the Sheikh of, the Sheikha of Qatar.
In very good company. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a thrill for all of them, and I believe that even in the healing process that we do when they perform, talagang nabibigyan nila ng buhay yung mga medyo talagang gusto na magpakamatay. Anong gagawin namin sa buhay namin? Kung makikita, naku, itong bulag pala
They give hope talaga to
oo,
people.
nakakapagtinikling, nakikipagsayaw, nag-acrobatics ang pilay. I mean,
And they sing with such beautiful
yeah.
voices,
So
angelic
akala
voices.
nila, kung kaya nila, kakayanin rin namin.
Opo.
So that's the whole point, positive contamination of, affirming life.
Opo. Before we pause for a break, I understand that there is a message about International Arts Education Week. Would you like to read?
Yeah, this is, of course,
viewers?
the first woman to ever lead UNESCO is Director General Bokova, Irina Bokova. She's from Bulgaria, which is in the section in Eastern Europe where Georgia is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and she really also came to inaugurate us as a UNESCO Dream Center. So here is what she said about what you call Arts Education Week, what it should be, bridging dialogue towards peace. As a vector of dialogue in the loftiest sense, art speaks up social inclusion and tolerance in our multicultural connected societies. A painting, an artifact, a piece of ancestral music speaks volumes about the history of civilizations and the ties that bind them. Young people must be taught to love art. It will make them understand each other better. So ang mahalaga dito siguro, lalo na ngayon, puro gera. Here we're having the WEF, the World Economic Forum for East Asia, and there's a threat of armed conflict.
Yes, in South China Sea.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we're not able to harness the artists, which we can, so that they prepare or fertilize the ground for some kind of a kinship thing, a music theater concert, which involves all the contesting countries. For instance, UNESCO has just selected the First Lady of China as an envoy for women child education. Kako kung mako-convince natin siya na all others besides Vietnam, Japan, everybody else who's contesting these islands, and we need to have the law of the sea understood, so it's the standard for reconciling clashing interests. Magandang magkaroon ng tinatawag na regeneration of kinship or friendship that had been existing before.
Yes.
So, maaring ma-lower ang
tension,
decibel tone ng awayan, di ba?
Ms. Salver, hold that thought. We have a pause for a break. But more of arts as a means for social change and International Arts Education Week when Philippines Uncut returns.
Huh?